You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, everybody? This is KCSN Update, our daily Chiefs and show here at KC Sports Network. Thanks for hanging out. I'm BJ Kissel, and it's Tuesday, so you know we will be joined by The Athletic's Nate Taylor. Yes, the Prince of Chiefs content will be to answer our 5 burning questions today as the Chiefs prepare for Sunday's matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. But before Nate tells us what Super Bowl media night was like last night, if you're following along on social media, it's an experience and only can be shared fully by those who are there that get to take it all in. So we'll ask Nate about that and 4 other burning questions right after this quick word from our friends and partners over at DraftKings. Are you ready for the biggest Sunday in sports? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 57, has all the Super Bowl action you need. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get in on the Super Bowl 57 excitement with DraftKings Happy Hour Super Boost. Check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day between 5 and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to see what prop bet will be boosted. Chiefs are currently 1.5-point dogs to the Eagles with an over-under of 50.5 points. A lot of fun prop bets, though. Make sure to check out that Casey Laboratory episode from Monday that went through a lot of the fun prop bets. One of the most fun things about Super Bowl. So get in on that action and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code KCSN as new customers can bet $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, now let's welcome on Mr. Nate Taylor from The Athletic, live to tape with us from Arizona. Nate, how goes it?
It goes well, BJ. We're recording obviously pretty early on Tuesday.
I'm trying.
Yeah, we're trying, man. I got a few hours of sleep, but today we'll get to talk to Clark Hutt. There'll be even more guys available both today and Wednesday. I've been to Phoenix a few times in February, back when I used to cover the NBA, so it's cool that it's here this year. Last night was pretty fun. I guess some people in the NFL basically said that media night last night was really back since 2019 when obviously the Chiefs played the 49ers. So with the COVID stuff, with even some of the restrictions last year in Los Angeles, we're back. We're back to having people in get-ups, in all sorts of costumes. A lot of food was discussed last night. Obviously between Kansas City barbecue and Philly cheesesteaks. So between all that, I tried to get some decent information from guys who are going to play on Sunday.
Did you ask Nick Sirianni if this is a must-win game? Was that you, Nate?
No, that was not me. Now, not only was that asked to Nick Sirianni, that was asked to Patrick Mahomes. As I try to remind myself, and you've been there, BJ, like there are about 11 guys on the podium, 10 players, including coach. I've talked to Patrick all year. This is not my time. Like I need to go get other people that I can have more one-on-one conversations. There was about 30 cameras in front of Mahomes. And one of the few times that I did walk by his little area was someone asking him, is this a must-win game? Right. To which he gave a polite laugh, and then he thought, you could actually see the how his brain worked for like 2 seconds. He was like, okay, how do I handle this in an appropriate manner? And he said, of course, you're playing for the championship, and you it's a must-win because you just don't want to lose. You don't want that feeling of leaving Arizona knowing that you were this close to the championship and not winning. So he handled it like an MVP candidate to people who are trying to obviously get reactions, get certain sound bites. I guess Juju Smith-Schuster also said that like Philly cheesesteaks are not great in Philadelphia, which I was like, that's a bold take. And
we were doing so good this week. It was such a different preparation against the Eagles than it was the Bengals, and then he had to go and disrespect cheesesteaks.
And then Darius Slay, who's a very good quarterback, was like, no, the Chiefs are in Kansas, right? I mean, it says Kansas City, like, and everybody's like, oh no, like, are we really talking about geography here and like where the countries are set up and the states and the
Literally, fans show up. I think somebody tweeted out. I'm sorry, I can't give credit. I don't know who off the top of my head. Nate, you might know, but somebody tweeted out like, we're in an NBA arena.
Yes.
And fans came to watch media ask silly questions of players surrounded by cameras.
Like, only the NFL, man. Only the NFL.
I remember from Miami, the thing that I remember most, Nate, was I don't know if they were getting ready to like promote the sequel of Good Burger, but that the two actors from Good Burger were like just dressed in the full gear. And I was like, that looks a lot like that guy. And then I heard him say, like, welcome to Good Burger. Can I get your order?
Your order, yeah.
And it was him. And I was like, oh my God, that doesn't look like him. That is that guy, like 20 years later. And I had no idea why he was there. Because I think there was a sequel or something that came out, but it was like a lot later. And it's just the most random things that you see. I saw I could feel, I should say, the disdain through Herbie's tweet when he would just tweet out media night, and it was just like the most ridiculous thing.
Now look,
it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh.
Yeah. I appreciate it for what it is. As I've told a lot of our colleagues, you know, work starts today. Like the real Super Bowl really starts today with Tuesday. Last night is a celebration of the sport. The idea that, like, again, you know, everybody gets their time to shine in essence, you know, like, for instance, like I saw Justin Ross yesterday. And that was really cool because he hasn't played all season. Obviously he's been in rehab. You know, Joe Blademeyer tells me like he's running sprints now. So he should be a full participant when the off-season program begins. But even for someone like that, it's like, wow, that's really, you know, he can see the experience from beginning to end with these guys. And that should serve him well in the offseason. You know, I got to talk to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was just elevated to the active roster, got his initial thoughts on he's going to be in uniform. He's probably going to play. He's probably going to get the ball a couple times on Sunday, you know, and what that means to him. And obviously the role reversal between him and Isaiah Pacheco, right? When this team was last year, in week one, it was Clyde who was the starter, and it was Pacheco who, you know, was obviously going to be in a sort of a backup, you know, occasionally get a touch role. And so there's all sorts of things. You know, could
you see Clyde, if he gets the ball, I think it's going to be more like a Ronald, like people are worried. I've seen Chiefs fans worried that all of a sudden he's going to step in and Pacheco's not going to get the ball. I see it as like, he's going to get Ronald Jones time. Like Ronald Jones, the one who might not be out there with a couple carries if he was getting.
Who, by the way, Ronald Jones was just it was just all the vibes last night. I mean, just all the vibes of just so happy, smiling. Obviously, he's been to a Super Bowl before, but that was in the COVID era with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, even seeing people like Julie Freimeyer and Tiffany Morton of the athletic training staff, I got to talk to them for a little bit. You know. It's that weird discussion where it's like, can you say this on the record, or do I just need to internalize this information?
I gotta say, they made him available, or you just went up and talked to him, Nate?
I went up and talked to him because I'm smart. And then of course you see like Brett Beach and most of the personnel crew. Like I got to talk to Chris Shea last night. Like these are rare instances where like you're not in the facility, but it's also not like training camp. And so, you know, I tried to do the best I could to talk with people that I don't either see or talk to every day throughout the course of the regular season. So it's fun. When Travis Kelce waved at fans, it was like he was a magician, BJ. I mean, people were like, oh my God, Travis Kelce just waved at us. I love you.
I think Donna was the star of the show.
Yeah.
Jason and Travis. I'd say Donna like I know her.
Miss Donna.
Jason and Travis Kelce's mom.
Yes.
Brought cookies. That was the best. I smiled and laughed when I saw that, because like at the heart of all of this, like still a mom. Those are still her little boys. She's bringing them cookies. Their place of business for a big work day.
It's incredible. So it was a fun night. It's also sort of a mini reunion for a lot of sports reporters, because obviously we're spread out throughout the country, and then we all get together for this crazy event. So I'm excited to see how the week goes. You're starting to get a little bit into the game. Obviously, we'll discuss that here. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to know that like the NFL is still king, and this is just another example.
That's a great example of the interest that has nothing really to do with the game. And most of the questions,
Nope.
at least the stuff that gets on social media, really has nothing to do with the game. But I like the fact that you say like this is a time for the beat writers that have been there every day since training camp to just do other things, just not worry about talking to the players, because of how busy they are. But one of the real pieces of information that came out from the deal last night, not that it was a huge surprise or that we didn't feel like it was trending that direction, was L'Jarius Sneed going through concussion protocol and being able to practice and get ready for this week. Any other bits of real information, air quote real, for anyone not watching on YouTube?
You're asking for a lot, mister.
Did I just give you the only one piece of hard news to come from last night?
I mean, Clyde told me he was going to play in the game. So I would say that. I would say L'Jarius Sneed, obviously being out of the concussion protocol, getting his time in the spotlight as well. I think everybody on defense is pretty set at this point. Like Willie Gay, I think is going to play, even though he was on the injury report last week. Juju seemed pretty optimistic that he was going to play. Now that'll be something that we need to sort of monitor throughout Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's practice. I think we'll sort of see how he is. Kadarius Toney, I don't know if you saw this, BJ, but Kadarius Toney did say that he would definitely play. And I think we talked last week. Good. I saw him after the AFC Championship game. He looked relatively fine. I just think it was an issue with him trying to make too many cuts on a hard, on a brick-like surface in 20-degree weather, however cold it was at Arrowhead that night. But he said he's definitely going to play. So everybody's going to get the necessary treatment. I think when I talked to Tiffany Morton, she kind of went through the process of what everybody's doing right now and the amount of rotation between, obviously, the players and the athletic training staff. Obviously, Julie gets a lot of the credit for obviously working with Mahomes. But, yeah, it's going to be I think everybody other than McCole Hardman, who was obviously put on IR, is going to be available in uniform. I think some of the questions now become, can those guys be fully effective and can they play through the entire game? Because my concern with Juju is, if you catch a ball in the middle of the field and get hit by two guys, is that knee going to be re-aggravated to where you're not going to be available in the second half or the fourth quarter? So there's things like that. But I do think most guys realize that they all need to be on the field because the Eagles are very, very talented.
Yeah, before we move on to the next question, did you ask or talk to Julie at all about how it feels for people that are behind the scenes and I don't know Julie. I've met her. She was new when I first got there. I know Tiffany a little bit. They don't necessarily like the attention. They don't like everybody knowing, and now everybody knows her name.
Everybody knows her.
And Mahomes tweets it out to millions and millions of people, and you have national TV talking about you. It's got to be a little different. Did you talk to her about that at all?
She's appreciative of what Patrick did. I think really the entire training staff is, because he is, I guess now that Tom Brady has officially retired, signed, sealed, and delivered, that, Patrick Mahomes is the face of the league. So I think they appreciate it from that standpoint. Like if the franchise quarterback recognizes our efforts, our skills, our expertise, then that, should really be an example for everybody on the team. And then, of course, it is really cool, however unusual for her, that Adam Schefter walks up and says hi, because now he knows who you are. Same for Ian Rappaport. It was kind of cool. I just sort of sat there for about a 10-minute period just watching people come in and out of Julie's orbit. And Julie's just sitting there okay, I'm not playing, but thanks guys. And there's not enough time to really get into the details of what the rehab was, but she was just really commendable about Pat just doing everything that they recommended, that he had her trust, and vice versa. And then for Tiffany, it was Tiffany sort of said, I'm trying to remember. She said something to the effect of, it's really cool that not only Pat did that, but that was the first thing he did once he got to his phone after the game. It was it's not just cool that he acknowledged her. It was that it was in his own mind after we are obviously celebrating a, impressive win, a remarkable, sort of into the season to get to the Super Bowl, And that's the first thing I think it was the first thing he sort of tweeted out after the game.
And you had said after the game when we spoke last week that he was very calm and just very relaxed.
Yes.
And it's just interesting that he was almost in a reflective manner. I'm putting things together and kind of guessing. It's not there, but like I remember you saying that he was just a little bit more relaxed, and to know that he fired off that tweet, it was probably more like, holy cow, I just did that.
Yeah.
And
did well, did really, really well. Yeah.
He did okay. He had 326 yards and a couple scores on a bad wheel isn't bad. We are going to, Nate, we're going to get your biggest storylines and your biggest worry going into this game on Super Bowl 57 right after this quick break. Welcome back. We're chatting a little Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl 57 with the Athletics' Nate Taylor. Thanks for hanging out. This is KCS An Update. Nate, biggest storyline going into this game, and you can't talk about Andy Reid facing his former team. And you can't talk about the Kelsey brothers. I think those have been discussed, and they will continue to be discussed.
Yeah.
I want to know on the field,
yes,
what is your biggest storyline that you're looking forward to with the game on Sunday?
So I'm going to say something that I think is both A, factual, and B, motivational for the team. Are you ready? Because an argument can be made that the Eagles have the best roster from 1 to 53.
Here we go.
Part of why you can say that is because they have the best offensive line in football, and they have the best collection of pass rushers. Now, what I think is fascinating is that you are getting a true 1 versus 2 matchup. The Chiefs, in my opinion, have the second best offensive line in football. And they also, when you look at it from, pass rush win rate, when you look at it from a number of sacks, as I've done before, when you put sacks, deflected passes, and throwaways, the Chiefs lead the league when you combine those 3 categories in the regular season. The Chiefs have the second best pass rushing unit in football. So it sets up a 1 versus 2 in the trenches both ways. And that, I think, everything will sort of build off of that. I think there was a lot of concern, or at least, some intrigue, I should say, with, hey, that's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd up against rookie, and Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, and Jalen Watson. This time, I get the sense that the game really does start at the line of scrimmage. And if the Chiefs can get legitimate pressure on Jalen Hurts, then Jalen Hurts will have to operate in a way that he has not had to in the postseason so far. For even as good as the 49ers are on defense, I don't feel like they pressured him a ton in that game. So they're going to have to do that more from the Chiefs standpoint. And look, I assume Patrick Mahomes will be about 80 to 85%. That's kind of been my general guess. If you want to suggest that he was sort of in that 70 range for the AFC Championship, then how does his pocket presence, his elusiveness, how does that help the offensive line to where if you get through the first level, I think there are plays to be made in the second and the third level against this defense. And it's weird because the secondary and the linebackers for the Eagles really have not been tested in their postseason run. And they, of course, have not had to cover anybody like Travis Kelce or really anyone.
They haven't faced a quarterback like this all year. Let's be honest.
True.
I'm looking at their schedule. That's nothing. True. I'm not saying they're not every bit as good as advertised. I'm just saying they have not played anyone even close to the caliber as the Chiefs offense or Patrick Mahomes this season. That's also a fair, not trying to make hot take type statements here.
So it's gonna be fascinating to see how the trenches work out, because you can acknowledge pretty convincingly that the Bengals did well in stopping the Chiefs' running game, but that's about it. The Chiefs won up front, especially on defense, and they held up enough on offense to obviously let Mahomes operate. And when he got, I like to remind people, when he got sacked 3 times, it wasn't because of the offensive line's issue. It's because Mahomes just made the decision that it's better for me to take a sack here than for me to throw the ball into harm's way.
Yeah. One of the guys I know we spoke about last week, and I went back and rewatched the final play, and I know I'm jumping around here a little bit. But when you spoke about Andrew Wiley last week, and like who deserves more credit,
Mm-hmm.
or who, do you want to give your flowers to? And you mentioned Wiley. You go back and watch the last scramble from Mahomes where he ran out of bounds. Andrew Wiley's ability to hit a moving target almost as if it was a screen because the amount of space that was given between him and Trey Hendrickson on that play. That's very hard to do as an offensive lineman, to hit a moving target like that. The last thing that you want as an offensive lineman is 6 yards of space between you and the guy you're trying to block, let alone the fact that you don't know what Mahomes is doing behind you.
Yes.
And if you go and rewatch that play, that is a play that we're always going to remember. And every time I watch it, I'm going to watch Andrew Wiley and his ability to lock on and get Trey Hendrickson in his grasp, which is the only reason that Mahomes was able to get to the outside and get that corner at all, and being one of the biggest plays, if not the biggest play in that game. But you talk about Jalen Hurts and the pressure. Our guy Kent Swanson tweeted this out yesterday, that Jalen Hurts, and talking about injuries and the shoulder injury that he's been dealing with. Now, granted, he's got some time, and they've got some pretty good athletic trainers on their side too, to get him ready. But Kent tweeted out that Jalen Hurts is averaging just 6 yards per attempt and 2.96 yards per carry since coming back from his shoulder injury. Obviously, some context may be needed to give in there a little bit more, but you can't argue with those numbers, saying that it hasn't been quite as deadly or as dangerous with him running the football, which was my biggest worry going into this game.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, but I can't, they haven't had to throw the ball deep downfield. They've taken the occasional shot. Obviously, everybody remembers the Devontae Smith catch, not catch against the 49ers. But, I'm fascinated to see, like, if it's 3rd and 8, A, where's Chris Jones lining up? And B, does Jalen Hurts have to hold the football for like 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds to sort of have something develop downfield to where maybe the defensive line can win, or get him off his spot and force him to run on, throw on the run, basically. I mean, the script for the Eagles is that they have to sort of get a lead and then maintain the game script, so that obviously the run is what they're heavily leaning into. And if the Chiefs get a 10-point lead, I think it will put a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges on the Eagles, because they just haven't played in that type of a game in more than a month and a half with their starting quarterback, with obviously the season and a championship on the line. They really haven't had to play with the amount of pressure that the Chiefs have had to play with so far. Given Mahomes' injury, obviously given the quality of opponents between the Jags and the Bengals. So I think for the Eagles to help Hurts, based on the information you're telling me with what Kent has researched, they really need to get to a good start, or at least stay on an even, score to score with the Chiefs, because I think them falling behind, might be detrimental to their success, because it feeds into the Chiefs pass rush, which has been really, really just firing really on all cylinders since the Chiefs played that second game against Denver.
Yeah. I always laugh because no matter what we discuss, it always comes back to protect your quarterback, get after the other quarterback. And now we just got to talk about turnovers. And I think we'll cover all of the,
we'll hit the bingo card.
We'll hit the bingo card of pregame storylines and key matchups and things to watch in this game. But Nate, let's move on to the next one. And that's, what's your biggest worry going into this game? And you can't say the pass rush because you just used that one. That's what everybody else is bringing up for good reason.
Yeah.
We have 4 guys that have at least 10 sacks. It's been talked about. But you got 4 dudes up front that start for them that can get after the passer. And then the guys coming in behind them can also get after the passer in a very big way, and names that, for anyone who follows the NFL draft, or just the NFL in general, guys like Robert Quinn and Ndamukong Suh, Josh Sweat. I mean, these guys can come off the bench for them and get after it.
All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of a trick. BJ, they need to run the football better than the Chiefs did in the AFC Championship game, because if they don't, then it's Mahomes against the pass rush. So,
all right.
That's a little NFL Live version for you guys. But no, it is reality. Isaiah Pacheco leads all the skill position players in yards through these 2 postseason games. I think it's 168 is what I saw last night. So again, he's a 7th round pick. He's going to play in his first Super Bowl. It is an amazing story, given that, we weren't sure he was going to make the team, right?
And personally, that dude's been through some stuff.
Yeah. So, he grew up an Eagles fan. He did acknowledge that last night, growing up in South New Jersey. which is basically Eagles territory. So he grew up an Eagles fan. He sort of acknowledged that, like, yeah, I used to play the Madden game with like Andy Reid coaching the Eagles back in the day. But now I get the sense that he can't, like, the offensive line is gonna have to get a better push. Now I think VJ Hill and DJ Reader are awesome. They pretty much proved that in the AFC Championship game, but I don't care if it's screens, if it's these little, like, sort of swing routes to the flat after you give a chip maybe to Hassan Riddick. If it's a misdirection play, obviously they count some of those jet sweeps if it's Kadarius Toney. But the Chiefs need to get a little bit better in terms of running the football in this game, because I think if you get to 2nd and 4, then you put the Eagles in a bind, which is, okay, they got 6 yards, however they got it. Now they can run the ball and get 3 yards or 4, get a new set of downs. How does this open up maybe deep shots to Marquez Valdez-Scantling if you're in 2nd and 4 versus like 3rd and 10 when obviously the defense understands that you're going to have to throw the football? I was a little concerned against the Bengals that if you have Mahomes drop back 40 times, I don't know if that's wise or, being super efficient given the quarterback's high ankle sprain. Then he dropped back over 40 times and was excellent. I'm here to say yet again, it's not serving you if he has to drop back 40 times in adverse situations like the fourth quarter gotta have it moments. So at least it won't be cold. It'll be a controlled climate, but I do get the sense that they need to run the ball better. And if Isaiah Pacheco could get 85 all-purpose yards, that's sort of my mark. I don't know what the prop bets are for him. I haven't looked at that. But if he gets 85 or more yards in this game, I do think the Chiefs have a better chance of winning, because you got to stop something. And I think it's less likely that Mahomes has a poor day than it is that the defensive line for the Eagles actually does enough on first down to get the chance to rush him on third down to maybe make things more difficult.
These are the games that I always enjoy, and I talked about this a little bit with Matt Miller yesterday, that I love the chess smash. Not that I understand all of it, but you can kind of pick up things as you're watching. That Andy Reid has been so good throughout his career going up against stout defensive lines, stout pass rushers now. Probably not a group. I mean, can't compare anything that we've seen lately to what the Eagles did. Obviously historic with, 4 starters all having double-digit sacks. But he's so good at manipulating the edge rushers, not necessarily with just chips or just that, but even with the play calling. We saw it against the 49ers earlier this year when we played him in the regular season, how frustrated Nick Bosa was by the end of that game, because there were times that he was unblocked, the horizontal motion, all of that, misdirection and that kind of stuff. That's what he's so good at, to slow down pass rush. But Nate, you and I both know there are times over the past several years, teams within the division, the Raiders specifically, where it felt like there was an advantage, especially at the second level of the Raiders defense, where if you feel like that's where you want to attack, a lot of the pre-snap motion and formation changes and all that before the snap is literally to confuse and make the second level of the defense
certain ways
and communicate and try to make a mistake. And you see that in games where they feel like that's an advantage. They don't need to do all that motion and everything against a team that communicates really well, because it's just a bunch of wasted motion. But when they do it, feels like it's before a certain reason and they're trying to attack something, or they feel like they have an advantage somewhere. And the combination of, if you're looking at the Eagles defense, if you're going to say there's a weaker area, it's going to be that second level. It's going to be the linebacker group. And from a play calling standpoint, that's the most fun from like the nerdy football side, because there's so much you can do to manipulate that level of the defense and move those guys around. With motion, you combine that with the motion that you want to use to have the edge rushers think horizontal, like, hey, they're going to jet sweep to this side, or there's motion coming over here, I got to pay attention to this, and try and slow them down just a little bit, which is a lot easier said than done when you've got multiple of them instead of just a few. But that's the stuff, like, I'm not going to guess on what it's going to look like. I just can't wait to see what it's going to look like and how Andy Reid from a play calling standpoint kind of combats that.
It'll be hilarious if they run like 10 RPO plays in this game to the team that is known for having an offense that obviously dictates certain things with RPO type action. That would be amazing if they said, like, hey, Kelsey's going to run some slants, Juju's going to run some slants, get behind the linebacker on in cuts, deep digs. Yeah, it's all
They're gonna
there.
start running RPOs, but they're gonna key in on like the D tackles.
Yes,
So K-State did years ago, and it was just like, what the hell are they doing? How is this so successful? Like they're not blocking the D tackle; they're just reading him.
Right, and there he goes.
It's funny.
Right, then he's running right away from you, and it's like, oh,
it's a little pop pass across the middle, all the seam route stuff. All right, Nate, I'm gonna trigger people here. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yes.
Right after this next break, we're gonna get your prediction for this week. Since your Bengals lost last week, Nate. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to KCSN Update. We're hanging out with the Prince of Chiefs content and longtime Bengals fan, Nate Taylor. It's time for a prediction. I'm just giving you a hard time, but
I know.
You did early in the week before we had injury information. You did pick the Bengals to win that game last week. If it makes you feel any better, I think everyone else that we had on Update that week said the same thing. By the end of the week, I was so sick of asking people because I knew what they're going to say. It's like, I don't want to talk to you about this. But I do want to talk to you about Chiefs-Eagles on Sunday and get your prediction and thoughts on what might transpire. Nate, who's winning this game?
So, for logical reasons, y'all, I said, I'm a bit leery of the Bengals because I know that they're really super duper talented. Now they're playing a team with perhaps even more talent from top to bottom. I think from a starting level, the Bengals are very comparable.
And let me, while you're thinking, I'm going to jump in here and say this real quick because there were some comments last week about this guy. He's not a Chiefs fan. Nate is not supposed to be a Chiefs fan. I can be a Chiefs fan. Nate has a job to do.
I'm trying to be a big
J journalist.
Trying to be a journalist here, guys. Yeah. Now look, you guys have one of the best teams in the league. Like that's been a fact. I don't think I picked the Chiefs to lose many times on this show throughout the course of the season. The Chiefs have won 14 games in the regular season. So we're doing just fine in terms of prediction winning percentage.
Just giving you a hard time. But I needed to put that out there.
Right. Thank you. I can't doubt this man. I can't do this again. Are you out of your mind? I mean, look, we all know what the definition of insanity is. I'm not going to do that. Why would I pick against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? You're telling me he's got more time. Injury's got 2 weeks. As we've both discussed, the Eagles have not played a quarterback this talented all season because there's only one of these guys, and he plays for the Chiefs. The defense is a lot better than I think people are willing to give credit to, especially if Chris Jones obviously continues on this tear. Frank Clark is obviously playing at an exceptionally high level. And one thing I will say is I think the Bengals receivers are better than the Eagles receivers. And the Chiefs just did a hell of a job covering T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to where they had to do outlandishly alien-like stuff to have 2 highlights, 1 each. So we'll see if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are better prepared in this game, also having 2 weeks. But when I look at it, I do think the Chiefs, if Mahomes is as effective as I think he'll be, they have the better offense. And I know defense wins championships. But guys, he's playing at such a high level. Like it's absurd how good he is. And I just want to acknowledge that. I just want to acknowledge that on a high ankle sprain, he played one of the best football games any quarterback has played all season, healthy or not. So I'm gonna say Chiefs 30, and I'm gonna say Eagles 26.
Okay. So they're taking the over and the Chiefs based on where the numbers are at.
I think the Eagles are gonna have to. I think the Eagles are gonna have to score points to keep pace. But I'm gonna take the quarterback and the coach that have been here before.
Yeah.
And I think more trust should be given to them, even though Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have had a fantastic season. So I'm not gonna be fooled again. I won't say I was fooled. I just, I'm just not gonna predict them to lose 2 straight games. That would make me an unwise individual, BJ, and I think the Chiefs will win.
Listen, you stirred up a lot of engagement in the comment section on YouTube. So people.
I hope people understand that, like, you know, I've enjoyed all season chatting with you. I appreciate everybody who comments. You know, it's a joy to see that people, you know, obviously you appreciate our discussions of football, BJ. But you know, I was trying to do the right thing. You know, I was
have to get all serious about it. I'm just giving you a hard time.
You gotta let
You're still my guy.
You gotta jokingly let me be serious. Look, I was trying to project in the, you know, in a manner I thought was appropriate, and then I saw him make one of the plays that should never be forgotten, which is 3rd and 4, gotta have it, and everybody's I wish I could see everybody's reactions in their homes, in the bars, in the stands of him. All right, well, this is the one time I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go right now. And his decision making was exquisite. And so if he has a similar game in this context, because again he's been there before, so it won't be necessarily new or super foreign to him. They'll win the game because he influences the game in a way that I don't think any other quarterback can right now.
Yeah. And there's so much to unpack, but you've been there on Andy Reid. He's not making a big deal of this game and facing his former team, which he's 3-0 against, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not the same team. I even the same coaches outside of the one time he faced Sirianni. Before that, it was Chip Kelly the first time. Then he faced, obviously, Doug Peterson.
Right.
And then Sirianni. But there might not be a more competitive person in the world than Andy Reid. And so I am more excited to see the game plan and what he pulls out of his bag as being one of the greatest offensive minds that NFL has ever seen, going up against the team that he has such a history with, and not in like I want to beat these guys, I don't like these guys kind of way, but his former team, like that's where he used to be. Like I can't wait to see what he pulls out of his hat. I mean, we saw a hook and ladder twice last week against the Bengals. And last time the Super Bowl they won, the Rose Bowl parade, the snow globe plays, you know, there's going to be some fun stuff dialed up. They're going to be excited for, but Nate, appreciate you as always joining us there from Arizona. Appreciate you picking the Chiefs.
You're welcome.
Giving us your thoughts on that. I'm sure it's going to make everybody happy, but I will say to everybody who's watching, we appreciate your support. And throughout the entire season, the comments and the feedback on the discussion that you and I had was different than it was in the rest. And I enjoy talking with everybody, but for whatever reason, people seem to really like the discussion that we have each week. So hopefully we can continue that a little bit in the off season when things are going on, but we appreciate you being down there. Make sure you're following Nate on social media and following and subscribing to The Athletic to get all of his in-depth information. If you do it as well, none do it better than Mr. Nate Taylor from The Athletic. So we appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy Arizona, and appreciate everybody for listening, watching. We'll have more content getting ready for Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl 57 coming up on Sunday. Make sure to hit that follow if you're listening to the podcast, like and subscribe on YouTube. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you next time.